So let's go to Marshall here. He's up next. Hello, sir.
Hey Bart, thanks for having me on.
How's it going?
Yeah, pretty good. How you doing?
Are you the guy with the Encore Boston Harbor hand?
No, I was actually calling from Wind Creek in Bethlehem, PA.
Oh, okay. Wind Creek in Bethlehem, PA. Is that near Parks as well, or is it? Didn't
Yeah,
it used to be called something else, right?
it used to be called the Sands. Yeah,
Right,
that
right,
was
right.
maybe 5 or 6 years ago. They
Okay.
changed it, and yeah, it's about an hour away from Parks. So I split my time between Parks and Wind Creek.
Ever get any Philly Live action?
A little bit. I'll go there sometimes, like if there's a big Eagles game or something. Usually that'll kind of increase the action over there. So I've been there maybe twice for that, but not too often.
Oh, Mike said that we met him. You met him at the meetup.
Yeah, I was in Vegas this past summer, and I was also in at that the meetup at the restaurant in outside of Philly.
Uzbekistan, he answered.
Uzbekistan, that's what it was. Yep. Yeah, that place was good.
That
Yeah.
was so amazing that we confused that there were multiple Uzbek restaurants in the area, and we were confused at first because the meetup that we did like 10 years ago was at the other Uzbek restaurant. Okay, so what's the size of the game here?
Okay, so this is a 2-5 game. It's a 1K cap,
Okay.
and it was played nine-handed. Effective stacks were 1,000.
All right, so 1,000 effective.
Yep. So you want me to just get into
Yeah,
it?
just get into
All
it.
right.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so the plus one, I have noted he was a tag player, makes it 20, and then it folds over to the
Hijack
hijack 60.
to 60. Okay.
Yeah, it was a middle-aged woman. It looked like she was coming over from one of the tournaments, but that was about all the background that I had on her. She's going to be the main villain, and then it folds to me on the button, and I have Ace of Spades and Ace of Hearts.
Ace of Spades, Ace of Hearts. Okay.
Yeah, so I bump it up to 150, cold four bet, and
And
then
cold
I'm
four
on the
bet.
button with aces. Yep, cold four bet to 150. So just 2.5x in position, which is pretty much what I usually always do. And then the plus one folds and hijack calls.
And the hijack is this middle-aged woman, right?
Yeah. I think she was coming from a tournament. I don't know if that'll help at all, but yeah,
Here's my
that's
take
all
on
the
this.
background.
Here's my take on this, and this is why I think live poker, like, you don't want to get into, because I just picked something up that you said, like, you know what I always do, like I went to 2.5x always. Let me ask you this question: if I didn't know the players in this game, and this lady just came in from a tournament, right? How often do you really think she's going to be three bet folding an early position raiser?
Yeah, like you said, like a typical live villain, especially like a middle-aged woman, typically is gonna have like a tighter three betting range.
Right.
So yeah, so I see what you're saying. So I probably could have gone a little bit bigger as an exploit, kind of to get more
Absolutely.
value pre-flop.
Absolutely. Now, I mean, you can still probably get the money in on favorable runouts. Favorable runouts meaning like if she has some sort of overpair and overcards don't come. But if you get more money in now, she's sort of more tied to the hand. Like say for example, well, just say for example, like it went 20 to 60 and you made it like 180 or God forbid like 200 or something like that, and she called. Now the pot's 400 and she's got like jacks, right? And the board comes out like nine high and you put out like a $200 C bet or 150, she just might check jam. You know what I'm saying? She just might go with it. So you just get more money in early on. I mean, that would be my take here, especially from the background. But okay, so you go to 150, she calls, pot's like 320, right?
Yeah, 320 I
Yeah.
have. Yep. And then the flop comes out Queen of Diamonds, Jack of Clubs, and Six of Diamonds.
Queen of diamonds, jack of clubs, six of diamonds. Okay.
Yeah, so my initial thought was the board kind of hit my range pretty well, but I also figure that it hits this lady's range pretty well. I think she has a lot of, like we kind of mentioned earlier, jacks and queens, kings and stuff. So she checks it over to me, and then I just made a 1/3 C bet and went 105.
105, okay.
Yep, and she just calls.
So a couple questions here in terms of size. Well, I mean, there's a couple obviously things going on here. Like if she bet, you bet she calls, the pot's 500. You guys have 750 left. It's still pretty easy to get the money in. I just do wonder sometimes too, even if it's sort of theoretically correct to use a sort of a side. I mean, you're almost always supposed to see bet four bet pots on unless it's the most sort of connected types of scenarios. It's not necessarily that you want to bet. It's not necessarily that this is a bad thing, but one of the things about live poker that I have noticed, and it's still a definite thing, because so few people, now maybe it's a little bit more common now in terms of bet sizing, but maybe in this lady's mind, right? Because so few people use such small sizing in given situations, you will sometimes have this sort of, it's not even necessarily like a bluffing frequency. It's more of like an overvalue frequency of getting played back at, which maybe you want that. But what I would say here is that if you bet small and then you get played back at, I have a tougher time folding than if you were to just go like 180 and then like she made a big check raise.
Okay, so you
take
think
that for
like,
what it's worth. I'm not saying that
yeah,
it's wrong.
yep,
I'm just kind of, thinking out
just
loud.
something to keep in mind. Yeah, we
Yeah.
might have to call down lighter because
I
of
mean,
it.
what were you in? Were you just gonna bet fold if she check raised when you go such a small sizing?
Um, I'm not sure if I would have folded. I mean, I think it would have been pretty strong if she came out and raised on that flop. Um, I don't know if I could have folded it. I probably would have called, but I definitely would have thought about it, I think.
By the way,
Yeah.
you don't have the ace of diamonds, so
No.
that's one of
Yep.
those ones where when you get into these all-in scenarios, when you have stack depth, a lot of times having a diamond in your hand is slightly better, so you can continue across diamond turns. But when you're facing all ins or bets that would sort of commit all in, I think it might. I think in a lot of situations it looks better to actually have your opponent have the possibility of having something, right? Like ace king of diamonds, ace ten of diamonds, which you're not really doing. I mean, it's still a big hand, right? But if you had the ace of diamonds and then somebody did that, that I would think that it would actually skew their hand towards a little bit more value in a given situation. I just wanted to point out the sizing against sort of inexperienced players will sometimes create a little bit of a playback. I'm playing back at you type of frequency, and it makes it harder for me to fold. So,
Yeah, I have noticed that as well. An increased raising frequency with kind of like people see it as like a down bet or whatever, and will raise me a lot more because of that. So yeah, that's important to keep in mind.
and the other thing too is it actually with your small sizing actually might induce a slow play where you otherwise wouldn't had one because she just thinks that you missed. If she has like pocket queens, although people like this are scared of ace king. There's two diamonds out there. So 105 and a call. So the
Yep.
pot's 530 now, right?
Yep.
Okay.
530 to the
Yep.
turn. Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
the turn was a 10 of clubs.
Mm.
Yeah, so I wasn't liking this card a whole lot once it came out because I figured I was starting to kind of run out of value. A lot of her three bet call range I initially thought was like tens through kings
Right.
and whatnot. So a lot of that gets there now, and kings are open ended now.
And ace king.
Yeah, ace king gets there.
Right.
King queens suited's open ended. So
Yeah. I mean,
so
here's the
yeah,
thing. Like, right, you lose to, if she has some portions of slow plays, right, on the flop, and then I don't think she's folding tens to your small sizing, right, on the flop because
no, I
you
don't think I
went
don't
out.
think so either. She might think
Right.
I have ace king maybe or
Right.
and just peel. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, you're losing to a fair number of hands here. Now, you could get value from kings if she doesn't get that all in pre-flop, and you get value from some king queen. I think that it's reasonable. I think to check behind turn, see what the river is, and then if she checks river, I think it's probably a value bet here because I don't know if sets are checking rivers, but you check back turn and then see what she does here, and you might get into situation. I mean, there's front door diamonds out there too, so you could induce a bluff. You'd probably have to call a lot depending on the sizing at the end if it's a brick, right? I mean, get a read, but I think it's reasonable to actually check this turn back.
Yeah, so I was thinking about doing that, but I ended up deciding to bet the turn because I think the deciding factor for me was the fact that I realized king, queen, and kings were open ended. So
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to, on top of maybe some thin value from those hands. I thought I needed a little bit of protection from them as well. So that's kind of why I chose to bet.
Well, and there's also merits for betting here too, as well. Even though I said like I don't mind a check back on turn, is that so if you bet turn, I think it's a two street type of hand. If you're looking for two streets of value, if you bet turn, I think you probably have to check back the end. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I think there are a lot of hands that you're still losing to that just call turn because they're scared of ace king, right?
Right.
Like I
Yeah.
don't think you can go three streets across this if she calls turn again. I mean, well, I mean, it depends on your side. Well, the pot's already 530 though, so actually, it's. I'm always thinking about more of like a deeper sort of stack format because if the pot's 530 and she only has 700 left, a lot of times she would probably just go with her hand, right? If it's a set here on the turn, so maybe in a shallower format, maybe you could get three streets, but I think if you were a lot deeper, it just becomes a bet turn, check back river, or check turn, evaluate river to figure out what's going on here. If she just calls, I can definitely get into a discussion about betting river too.
Yeah. Yeah. That was, I think my main plan was to check back. I thought I was running out of value pretty quick, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I went 175 on the turn, and she just calls again.
So here bet's 175 and hijack calls. So now you're looking at 830 and you guys have what 280 what
I have 880, but my math might be
yeah,
wrong
you're
there.
right, 880.
880. Okay.
Yeah, 880 and you guys would have 280 what like five
Six.
six five 600 left, something like that.
Yeah, I have 675 behind.
You have
So
675 behind
yeah,
280.
so I think
Yeah.
around there.
Yeah,
Yep.
675 behind. Let me ask you this question. If she check jammed the turn, what would you have done? Because then you would have been like, it would have been like 1500, like 680 for you to call.
680 to call.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, that would have it would have been pretty strong. Like
Yeah, I would
I
say
guess
so.
I guess yeah, I don't think she would have ace king because I double block it, but
Well, I mean, she
I
could.
mean, yeah,
how
she
many
definitely could.
how many
Yeah,
combos are there? I mean, there's still 8
right.
combos of ace king, right?
True. Yep. Yeah, so I guess she could have had ace king too, and yeah, I mean, if she
I
went
think it
all in on a
probably
board
comes
like that, yeah,
I think it probably becomes a fold. I mean, it's just like because you mean the only hands that you were sort of begging for that you have some equity against are hands like two pair, but a lot of times two pair like the 10. I mean, I guess you could have like Jack 10 suited, Queen 10 suited, but even still, you know what I mean? At that point, you've got what, like you get two outs to an ace, four outs to a king is six, and then what, maybe 9, 12 outs. You probably still need like, 3-1 with one card to come. I think definitely becomes a bet fold if she were to do that on the turn.
yeah, I think I agree with you there because yeah,
Yeah.
if she wasn't scared of our range on this board, that shows a lot of strength. So yeah, I think I agree there.
Yeah.
Yep. And then
So, okay. So it's 880. Yep.
yep, and then the an offsuit five rolls out in the river, so pretty um non-impactful card.
Yep. So the final board is Queen, Jack, 6, front door diamonds, turns a 10, rivers a 5. And again, Hero made a very small 4-bet pre against this lady from a tournament. Bet the flop, like small, 1/3. She called, went 1/3 again on the turn. She called. And now we're at 880 with about 670 left. So maybe like 2/3 to 3/4, something like that.
Yep. Yeah, and then she checks it to me for
Okay.
a third time.
So I was gonna.
Yep.
I didn't know what happened because I was gonna say like if she checks, like what are you gonna do here? Okay, so she
Yeah.
checks. Yeah.
So I definitely didn't want to go for more value here. I was yeah, pretty scared of her range at this point. So
You didn't because I'm starting like I said. I think that really the key inflection point here is how often we think that she would go with like a set on the turn here because the pot gets so big. Now but she, you still have 670 left. So if you're going to tell me that, people are going to play somewhat passive, scared of ace king, and she can still have all the sets because you almost have a full pot size bet left, then you're really just trying to target what, like king, queen, and kings.
yeah,
And
that was pretty much it.
ace queen, which of course you
Oh, yep.
block, right?
Yep. Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
So Yeah, so I decided to check that one back.
Now,
Um,
our content creator, Nate, says jam. I think it's pretty close, Nate. I do think it's pretty close. I think this becomes a slam dunk jam if on the turn you only had like maybe half to less. If you made a bet where when she called, the pot would be half or less, I think it becomes a slam dunk jam. Number one, because reverse pot odds. Well, number two, I'll go for because a reverse pot at the end, she's going to be getting better pot odds, right, on the end. But then I think it just increases the likelihood that she just goes with a hand that's better than one pair on the turn when she only has half pot size bet left. But at 670, 680, at 880, it's pretty close.
yeah, because at this point she's probably not going to fold
No, I wasn't thinking
any of
about
those
bluffing.
hands. So
No, I wasn't thinking
yeah,
about bluffing. I'm talking about going for value.
yeah, right, okay,
The point being is that you have the best hand here if she had half pot or less after a call on the turn because she would just go with those hands. Whereas here, she just calls sort of scared to ace king. That's the whole thing that I'm looking at here.
and would you have ever jammed on the turn like as a bluff, or is our hand just too strong
I don't
to
think
turn
so.
into a bluff here?
What are you
Yeah.
trying to bluff? What are you trying to bluff off the hand?
Actually, I was talking to some people. Someone in the Discord had brought this up, so I thought it was interesting. I forget who, but they had suggested maybe to jam, trying to get them off of a set or something, making them think I had ace king.
I don't know, man. It's
Yeah, I guess at this level, it's
yeah,
probably not the best to try to get
yeah.
people off of sets,
I
right?
don't. Yeah, I'm not trying to on a non-flush board on a non-four straight board. It's and then also too, it's like you have the best hand some of the time too, where you can get value. I don't think I would take this one and try to turn it into a bluff. You know?
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't think so. I just wanted
yeah,
to clarify that. So,
yeah.
okay. So, yeah, so I just checked back on the river
Oh, you
and
do? Okay.
yep, so I just ended up checking back
Uh huh.
and she had pocket sixes.
Pocket sixes. Wow.
Yeah, so she flop bottom set and had just called the whole way, didn't
Yeah.
raise or anything and
Well,
checks us on the
the board
river.
just
So,
keeps getting scarier and scarier for her too, and that's the whole thing of like how much of a check call shell does somebody go into, right? And then she also has bottom set, so she's losing the queens and jacks. But when the 10 comes, now she's losing the ace king. So it's not surprising there. And I think the river is probably close. So if you check back turn and the pot remains 530, and now the river's like a 5, I assume she's going to bet. Well, here's the thing. If she checks the river, you're going to bet, right? If you check back turn and she checks the river, you have to bet,
oh,
right?
100%. Yeah,
Right.
because I would probably put her on kings or king
Yeah,
queen then
king
if
queen,
with
ace
that
queen,
action.
something like
Yeah.
that. And then if she would come out and bet like 250 on the end, and you would call as played. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I think it just demonstrates how important it is to look at stack sizes and how stack sizes, remaining stack size, and pot size will tend to is another sort of important part of hand reading. This is a pretty good example of that because again, I would say that if you're shallower on the turn and she just calls, I would be going for more thin value at the end. Thank you very much for the call. Appreciate it.